Hello friends, I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. This is Index Card RPG Master Edition. As I've been going through this little revival idea of maybe playing some RPGs in my life, somebody suggested this, so I bought it. In fact, I've bought everything somebody has suggested to me. If it's available for purchase, I've bought it. If it's just a download, I've downloaded it. But I have bought them all. And I'm waiting on one more to come in the mail called Ironsworn. I bought it in the solo version. And for the most part, I've been pretty pleased. This book is fantastically made. It has 2 different bookmark ribbons, which is pretty cool. It is a nice heft. It's a good size. All of that. The thing is, I don't get it. Like, what's in here is not... It's nothing really new, in my opinion. It's called Index Card RPG because the idea is that you can play a whole session with just a stack of index cards, and you can use them for all sorts of different stuff. But the author really never tells you how to do that or gives you examples of how to do that. They just kind of let you figure it out, which is fine. Like, I'm totally okay with that. But the funny thing is, the character sheet, it's printed at the back of the book here, most definitely will not fit on an index card. Like, this is way too much information for an index card. You could maybe do 2-sided, which I have done in the past. I have run index card RPGs my whole life. Like, I have run games of D&D with just index card character sheets. Let's go. But the idea of this game is a simplified D20 system in which you roll a D20 and add a modifier, and you have a target, and you're trying to hit or beat that target. That's it, right? So very simple D20 system. It does use other dice. Other dice are used for damage and various other abilities. And there's some things in here that I have done my whole life as a GM. They have something in here called the Hero Coin, which is the idea that you give... every player has the opportunity to earn this coin, which is like you did something cool, you played in character, you achieved some great thing, whatever, I give you this coin. And you can use this in the future for a benefit. I've done that since the 90s as a GM. I had the idea of handing out these coins, or they weren't coins in my case, they were usually little gemstones, little, like the fish tank stuff. I had dozens of those for things, or hundreds of those for things, so I would hand those out. And then I would let you use it to re-roll whatever, or add plus or something. Add damage to an attack, that sort of thing. But then there's this, first of all, I promise this is not turning into an RPG channel. I had to make this promise a couple years ago when my kids asked to play D&D, and I started to kind of dive back into that world, and we talked about D&D for like a month straight. This isn't happening, but I probably am going to talk about it for the next week or 2. We'll see. Like, it's what's on my head right now. It has been a little bit of a creative outlet for me lately. I have been reading these books and processing them and thinking about how to run a more modern style game with my child, whom I hope to attempt to do tomorrow or Sunday. We're going to try to run a short session. We'll do character creation, and I'm going to run her through some stuff, like maybe a small dungeon and some story stuff, just to get the feel of it. Part of that is I'm looking to grease the wheels, my GM wheels. I haven't used those in forever, and if my friends want me to run Blades in the Dark, I need to remember how to do that. So I was hoping that there would be some stuff in here, and there is. But I think the part that's interesting is like little subset ideas that the rest of the system doesn't really match with. I think that in this game in particular, there's no leveling. There are milestones, and you give milestone awards, but that's just kind of like GM's discretion. Like, you did something cool, have a milestone award, and so each character can have a path, or paths aren't necessarily strict. Like, you can branch off and have stuff from different paths, but there's milestone awards for each kind of branch, and these are kind of like loot items that you would find. So there's not this idea of your character getting stronger, your character getting whatever. It's more or less your character getting some boon that gives them some sort of benefit, and they're mostly physical items, which is also kind of neat because you could have them stolen or whatever. That's okay. Like, I like the idea. I often would use magic items as a kind of mid-level reward for characters. Like, now you have a immovable rod, or now you have a bag of holding, or whatever. And that was kind of a fun little thing to hand out that wasn't a batch of XP. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff in here. But here's the weird part. The weird part is there's this heart system. So instead of HP, you have hearts. And 1 heart equals 10 HP. So you have HP. Like, this abstraction to hearts, because it's a cutesy video game idea, makes absolutely no sense to me. You still have HP, and you have to track them. You don't get to track 1/10 of a heart. Like, I guess you do, but you have 10. You have 10 HP. That's your 8. You have 20. The interesting thing is there's this idea of effort, and the amount of effort it takes to overcome something is equal to the amount of hearts it has. So it's not just HP. It could also be like a task difficulty. So a task is a difficult 1 heart, which means you have to have like a success of 10 or whatever, or you have to have 10 effort of 10 points worth of effort to succeed at that task, which means you can split the task up amongst multiple players or multiple attempts to get that 10 effort. That's neat. But it just seems excessive to me. I think this would be much better for me if it was the kind of classless, XP-less system with just a traditional roll dice, add a modifier, you either succeed or fail, or you have a partial success or whatever. And then that's it. We don't need hearts and translating HP to an effort and whatever. I don't get it. I don't get that part. And so I read this section like 3 times. I watched videos last night to try to understand it, and I still don't get it. It still doesn't make any sense to me. This whole effort system just seems like unabstracting. Like you abstracted everything out to these cute hearts, and now you have to translate those into something later to try to figure out what happens. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't think I'm going to be running this anytime soon. I am glad I own it. There are 5 distinct worlds in this book. In fact, the main game is like 60 pages or something. Like, that's all of the classes and skills and all that sort of stuff that you would see in a traditional. The rest of the book is just GM guide and worlds. There's 5 distinct worlds in here, from traditional fantasy to weird, spooky mountaintop western to sci-fi. You know, there's a bunch of different options, and there's an interesting magic system at the back. So I'm really glad I own the book, but the system doesn't make any sense to me. And so maybe, I guess the point is, can you explain it to me? Because I don't get it. I don't get the appeal. I think that for me, running something like Dungeon World or even Blades in the Dark seems much less difficult than this. And the whole point I thought here was, here's how to play a game with index cards. Like, for instance, he talks a lot about drawing on index cards, but never really shows you what that looks like. Like, I think there could have been, there are these, like, he talks about drawing a room, and he shows you kind of different rooms that you could draw on index cards, but he never really shows that, like, how would that work in play? It would have been cool to see some illustrations of, like, here's how we do this in play. There was one little example of an overworld map that they were able to insert things in. But again, the idea here was that this was built as kind of a one-off system. Like, you would just play a one-shot with this. And so you only have, like, a couple of different... You do a couple of different things, and that's it. Like, you have a main goal, and then maybe one little side quest, and then your main goal, and that's it. You're running like a 2 or 3 hour adventure, and you're done. I get it. I don't get the thing as a whole product, though. Lots of cool ideas in here. I don't know. So, yeah, again, not turning this into a role-playing game channel. We're still going to continue to do this daily diary type stuff, but I thought this was interesting enough to talk about. and I don't, again, I don't feel bad that I bought it because I think there's a lot of good takeaways in here. It's just for me, I don't believe I'll be running this as a system anytime soon. What do you got going on this weekend? I'm going to try to do some role playing with my kid. I'm going to try to finish the art project because I need that very, very soon. And spend some time with the fam. That's role playing with the kid is family time, isn't it? Oh, I have to run concessions tonight at a football game. It's the last football game of the season, and I have concessions duty. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again on Monday. Today's word you should know sounds smart is sublime. It is an adjective meaning reaching new levels of quality and perfection unduplicated elsewhere of such immense beauty that the viewer's breath is taken away, metaphorically speaking. The sublime and the ridiculous are often so nearly related that it is difficult to class them separately. One step above sublime makes the ridiculous, and one step above the ridiculous makes the sublime again. Thomas Paine, an English revolutionary and intellectual. Sublime, S-U-B-L-I-M-E. Also a band that's having a resurgence. Like, my kid is into Sublime, and that's really weird to me.